If you're struggling to get a decent overdriven rock guitar sound, then this is probably the video for you. And I see and hear this so many times from the bands that come in the studio, how they dial in all the overdrive and the gain and they stack all the overdrive and distortion pedals up and create this huge wall of guitar noise, or so they think they are creating this huge wall. But I'm going to give you a few tips today on how to create a great basic starting point for your rock guitar riffs and your crash chords and all this kind of stuff. Now, what I tend to go for is some really simple kind of I like to boost the mids a little bit, because a lot of the information in electric guitar is actually in the mid-range, and most people have this misconception that you should be cutting like the V shape on an EQ pedal and all this and dialing the mids down. But for me, there's a lot of information in the mid-range for guitars, so I do like to keep that in and then sculpt things around that depending on the arrangement of the song or the mix or where I want the track to sit. So again, when you're working on a guitar tone at home and you actually create something in your bedroom or in your home studio, you get a sound that you're listening for in isolation. And in isolation, a lot of these patches on pieces of kit that we get are brilliant, because they're designed to sell you the piece of kit, so they want it to sound brilliant. But it's not necessarily going to work great in your recording or on your live performance sounds as well. So for me, I always check my overdrive levels with any of the bands by, and this is a bit of a beast of a guitar, this SG, it's an old thing, but it growls and it's a great starting point for me. So for me, with any amp, I've kind of create this sort of a And the reason why I go for this as a starting point is when I play, you can hear all the note, you can hear the attack of the pick on the notes as well, and it's not creating this mush. Too much overdrive compresses the hell out of the sound that you're trying to create, and it just becomes kind of just bland and boring and no feel about it. So for me, this is about as for a crunch rhythm sort of sound. That's about as good as it's going to get for me. I won't put anything more than that on. And I'm going to stack a couple of overdrives up for you in a second and just create this sound that I get to have to deal with a lot on mixes and bands that send the stuff for me to record, you know, when it's been recorded for me to mix. And I'm kind of like, oh, really, man, just give me a simple DI track as well as the crunch sounds that you're recording, because then I can reamp things and back it off. Once it's set to tape, it's on forever, and I can't do much with that apart from possibly try some creative EQ on things, which isn't the solution. Get it right at the source. So again, for me, I play open chords. If you look there, I want to be able to tell what those open chords are. Now, when you stack distortion and overdrives up, you kind of lose that clarity massively. And what I look for, and this is the sound that I hear off a lot of bands that come in the studio and the tracks that I get. So I'm going to load up 3 pedals there, so we've got a lot of noise, and if we can ignore the noise and just listen to what happens when I play single notes. Hear that basically what you're hearing is a lot of washiness, where it's kind of just no control, just on an open note. So how do you expect your chords to sound great? So coming from the 80s environment of rock bands, which I kind of cut all my teeth in, this was one of the most important parts of learning how to get good tones for me. And this carried me forward for quite a number of years when I was doing a lot of session work in the big city and all these places, and it was a good experience. And it was purely down to the fact, I think, that the engineers and producers that I was working with at the time were quite pleased that I wasn't the greatest guitar player in the world, and I hold my hands up and I always say I never will be, never was and never will be. But the tone was the selling point for me. That got me in the studio, and having the ability to probably be able to record something in a couple of takes rather than playing maybe an hour or two while you faff around with amp settings and try and create the sound. You need to know what the sound is. So again, if you've listened to that recording then with it overdriven, I've taken it back. Now listen. It sounds like a guitar with just a little bit of coloured overdrive on, but when I play the crash chords, we get the... Sounds familiar, that, somewhere, I don't know. If not, I'll be stealing that one. But what I like with that is that when I actually back off as well, with the amp, I'm controlling another level of overdrive through the amp that way with the guitar. You know, you back this down and... So I've kind of got a lot of control with a basic driven sound. I also like to boost the mids, like I said earlier in this, because that does help things to pop in the mix. The big issue that I see with recorded tracks is where guys will and this is actually done in stereo. I'm just tracking this in stereo for you now. And I don't normally do that. I normally just do everything in mono. I'm a big mono fan, as you've probably gathered from previous videos, but I've done this just so you can hear the quality in a stereo environment, probably on your earbuds or at home or something, with the guitar with not as much overdrive on as you probably think you would probably put on. So if I play a couple of bar chords, when I record with this kind of sound, I would literally record one channel left and then re-record the same part, pan it right, and with a less crunchier sound, you create a big wall of sound. As a reference, just check out AC/DC, some of their riffs, you know. It's not as distorted as what you think. All those kinds of things. That's probably more than what they actually recorded as a reference in my mind there. So don't record one part, pan it left, and then duplicate the part and pan it right. It's the same performance. You don't get the big sound. You know, I will not layer 4, 5, 6 tracks of guitars on each side of the stereo field. It's one for me, one for right, and you know, left and right, and that's how I do it. And for me, that works. That's a simple but very effective way of creating a huge guitar sound, especially like a rock 80s kind of sound, this kind of stuff as well, because the two recordings have little foibles in them. You're never going to play it exactly the same, and it's those discrepancies in performance that create that big sound. It's two guitars playing two slightly different things all the way through the track. So that's a massive thing for production, to do that. Don't just record one take and think, oh, will I get it right again? Maybe not, I'm going to have to copy and paste it. Don't do that. Learn the parts properly, because you will get a far better result. Think about how much drive you're going to use. You can always add more in post-production, I suppose, or reamp like I like to do, but don't overkill it. Less is definitely more when you're looking at huge guitar sounds. So again, you know, you listen to any great players and their sound is not as overdriven as you think it is. So back it off, experiment with it, and again, track one left, one right if you're going to record things at home, and see what you come up with. Please comment on these videos for me, because I'm trying to help as many people out there as possible, and give the thumbs up to the video and like and subscribe to my channel, because as I always say, it really does make my day. And I'll be keeping you updated with lots of shorts coming soon on tips and tricks and recording tips and tricks, as well as licks and phrases, and probably basing a lot more stuff around the rock guitar genre as well for everybody, rather than a lot of beginner stuff. So we'll get to see and progress together, and we'll see how it all goes. So as always, stay safe, stay well, and I'll see you very soon.